Good job.
Yay. All right. If we could just get through the rest of the meeting, okay? And look, we're starting on time. So I'd like to call to order this Town of Dayton Commission on Disability meeting. It is February 15th, 2004. This is a fully remote meeting. The time is 5:30. This is being recorded. Um, and at this point, I would like to have us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I pledge of allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United
of the
States of
United States
America
of America,
and
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for
for all.
all. I forgot what I was supposed to be looking at when we don't have a flag. Um, so because we're in a Zoom, if we could all just take turns saying who's here. Um, whoever would like to go first.
I'll start with me, Jonathan Gale. I'm the ADA coordinator for the town of Dayton and a liaison to this Commission on Disability.
Kevin Smith Jr., member.
Christina De Oliveira, member.
Timothy Tulin, member.
Nicole Mello, chair. So we are going to start with our new business. So we're here to talk about the fiscal year 2025 budget. I want to make sure everyone got a chance today to review Town Administrator Mike Mullins' email. He wasn't, for the record, he's not able to make it tonight. Did everyone have a chance to look that over?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Christina, did you have a chance to look that over?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, just to kind of summarize what Mike said, because we're coming into a year different than our prior years, where the ADA coordinator is no longer part of the commission, but has taken on like a liaison sort of position. We're not his overseeing board or anything, so who are we to make his budget? So it looks like he'll be moved over to the town administrator's budget, which was outlined in there. And if anyone has any questions, I'll attempt to answer them. But then if not, then we can go into what we're looking to as a commission to budget. Jonathan, did you have anything? I could see.
So, sure. So do we want to discuss the budget yet, or that part of it even? Because I'd like to discuss that part of it as well. Do you want to start there, or how do you want to proceed?
Do you want to start where, at what part of the budget?
We'll start with because I'm asking for a recommendation as well, potentially from COD. So you are correct. And just for those who have not been involved in this in the past, when the COD was first formed, I was the person that was responsible for putting the commission together and getting it through special town meeting and so forth as well when we did that a couple of years ago. And I was also wearing the hat of the ADA coordinator. So I was wearing both hats. And that's why initially, because we had nowhere else to put this line items in the budget for the ADA coordinator, it was couched under the COD, which at the time made sense because I was wearing both hats. Now that I'm not wearing both hats anymore, it doesn't make sense. And I agree with the town administrator that it should not be as part of the budget of the COD. I entirely don't disagree with that. In fact, I think it's better off to not be. The only things that I have a concern about here are twofold. One is what I don't see in the budget for the position of the ADA coordinator, first of all, is any money allowance for training at all. And I remember last year, we talked about that, and I indicated that at some point I would need to have some kind of training, upgrade training for disability rights through the National Disability Rights Foundation for national certification. When I asked for that during the year last year, mid-year, because I had always been told to believe that if you need extra money for something, it can come from the Board of Selectmen. But when I asked for extra money for training last year, which was about $600 mid-year, I was told it wasn't in my budget. So therefore, I'm requesting, first of all, that the COD recommend to the town administrator and to the FinCom that the budget for the ADA coordinator include an additional $600 for training, for update training, for disability rights policy and procedure, the Disability Rights Foundation or the National Disabilities Network, whichever it may be. Either way, it's about $600. So I'm asking that that be put in. The other thing I'm asking for also is for the COD to recommend an increase. So again, for those who were not with us before, and I know, Nicole, you've been with us, for a while now, at least, so you're familiar with some of this. After the first year of COD, we had proposed taking the position from the stipend of $3,000 to making it a quote unquote salaried stipend position, which we did for the $3,000 and also upgrading it significantly. I think the first year we were asking for $12,000 because of the amount of work and time involved. And that was rejected. We tried to compromise at $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000, and we were told, come back to us next year and we'll do something. And the reason for that was because of the amount of work and time involved for the ADA coordinator. There's a lot of work I can't do because I'm bound by $25 an hour for 10 hours a month, period. End of story.
Jonathan, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm afraid you're going to get too far into this. So as it's going to go forward at you being outside of our budget, we have nothing to do with your budget. Like we're not going to make any recommendations. Any of those recommendations have to come from you to the town administrator and to FinCom.
Well, then then if that's, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I would think you can still at least make a recommendation. But what I would say then is, if I didn't get a chance to read the whole email that Mike sent today, because I literally just finished another seminar like 7 or 8 minutes ago that I've been in virtually all day. So I don't know if the COD budget currently has anything left in it. Maybe you can tell me that. Because if it does, I would ask that that money be reallocated. I know the COD may need some money for some mailers and a few things that need to get done over the year, potentially. But I would also ask potentially that that money be reallocated to the boss side, if you will, so that I can use that for training. And that could be a recommendation of COD.
Does anyone have those figures in front of them?
Yeah,
I don't have what's remaining.
The two line items that we currently have that would fall, moving forward would fall under our budget. We have $250 for office supplies and then $250 for professional and technical. Which we have expended zero on both line items. So we do have $500 available. The other line items that we do have that are going to disappear are just the ADA coordinator stipend and then the auxiliary aide, which is Jonathan's assistant. So I can understand a little bit where Jonathan's coming from is like, I think if we don't intend to use that money before the end of the fiscal year, that that's we're not giving back a whole lot. Like, it's not going to really matter, I guess, to free cash. So it wouldn't hurt to maybe take that under consideration. And then just to kind of quickly comment on Jonathan's point of a recommendation. I do agree, Nicole, like it primarily has to come from Jonathan to the TA Board of Selectmen and FinCom. But if we feel that he needs something, I think I was always under the impression that we would help provide some direction to what we would like to see the ADA coordinator do, and then also support him if it's needed. I would support the training, and I've supported, the salary increase in the past. I think it would be difficult at this point, and I know, Jonathan, you're not going to love this, but we're kind of, since we've re-evolved and just kind of brought new people in who aren't up to speed, I don't think it would be fair to ask the other members to support that increase, only because we don't know the direction that we're going in. We were just trying to, wrap our heads around the KMA report and things like that. I mean, I certainly personally would support you, but I think we're in an odd position at this time to have new committee members who haven't quite grasped the work that we're doing here to do that. And it would be an odd position, I think, to put everybody in.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
We've got 250 for office supplies, 250 for training and something else.
Professional and technical, which could
Okay.
be, training, or we've used it in the past for mailers and things like that.
Okay, and that
So
money,
oh, sorry.
that money has to be spent by the end of the fiscal year?
No, it can roll over, right?
Okay.
Well,
No.
there's two things. If we don't spend it, it will go into free cash. So it just goes into the general town fund and free cash. Um, if we had something like, say we were going to do a town-wide mailer, and but we couldn't do it before June 30th, and it was going to print on July 5th, which is when the fiscal year turns over on July 1st. We could ask for an encumbrance, so that way we wouldn't lose it. We could use this year's money next year if like timing didn't pan out correctly in a project.
And at the same time, regardless of if we put aside the other any kind of an increase from that 3,000 something dollars at this point and leave that out of the equation, even for this 250 and 250, the trainings that I have to do are somewhere between $500 and $600, and I can do that anytime. And so theoretically, you can for this year, and I'm not talking about next year's budget, but even because that's there, it's still there in the current year too. That $500 is there. That could be, I believe, reallocated directly for me to complete this training before this fiscal year ends June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, have you ever looked into grants to pay for these trainings?
Yes,
Just because, I mean, that's a lot of money.
I have, Nicole, but my answer to that is there are a lot of trainings, and I'm not being sarcastic here, that many people in departments get, including the Board of Health, that are budgeted.
I got to tell you, I am in that department, and I have a grant that pays for all my trainings. Because it can be expensive.
And I know they can, and I wish I could get the grants for those right now, but we don't have grants for those at this point. I'm looking into writing other grants for other things that in the future will include training, and not just training for me, but for employees of the town for a number of things.
So at this point, I mean, it's up to the group what we want to do with our remaining funds, to if we want to make the recommendation to move them over for this training. But in regards to like how much Jonathan is getting for it's not a stipend anymore, right? Is it?
It's technically not a stipend, no. And I have no problem, Nicole, so to speak, leaving that on the table and discussing that with the town administrator.
Yes, I think that's the most appropriate for that item. And I'll let the group discuss and what they want to do with the rest. And then as well as then us discuss what we are going to ask for this year in regards to what we're looking for as a commission.
I mean, I'm certainly in favor of, like, if, again, not that it is a lot of money for training, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's a lot of money. Like I said, if we have no intention to use it, some sort of mailer or thing like that, I think it would be best to support the coordinator and use it for training for this fiscal year. I wouldn't want to make it a normal, thing that we do.
That's what I'm asking, Kevin, is if it could be used potentially, if you could at least vote to you let me use it so I have it for this fiscal year to complete the training. And then if there's going to be future training like that, that would have to be built into the budget with the TA separately.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was getting at, because I think we're still a fairly new committee where that public outreach portion of it is still important. Like, to have that capability to do, a townwide mailer, or I know last year Jonathan did calendars and he handed those out at the Firecracker Festival, and it's kind of neat to have. It had some good information on it. So like, I'd like to keep the money moving forward to do things like that. But if we don't have the intention, I think we're in kind of a reconciliation phase where we're trying to really get our heads wrapped around the KMA report, and we're not so concerned about that portion of it right now. So we can certainly use social media and word of mouth for the time being. So
not to mention, I don't think anything that we potentially could get together would get done in that time frame. We know how long it took to do the first mailer. So it's just too short a time.
And not to ramble on about it, but too, I was thinking about this earlier, when I first was looking at the budget, is I don't know if maybe, because it could potentially be a savings for us too, where we're paying for maybe just printing and not also the mailing, is if we could have a conversation with, like, say, the town clerk. So when they send out those renewals for like your
I like that.
licenses and stuff, maybe we could have an insert that goes in there. If there's an offset in postage because of weight or something, we could probably think about, we would maybe have to do that. But I know the last time we did a townwide mailer, it was like $1,200 or $1,300. It was pretty.
Yeah, I think the townwide mailer to do, because when we did the townwide mailer, that was like a 7x9 postcard with a couple of colors. And we did every physical address and every PO box. So between the printing and the mailer, it was just over $1,000. It was about roughly $1,050.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
And that was more informative to let people know that the Commission on Disability existed and that there was an ADA coordinator, which has made a difference, by the way. I've gotten quite a number and still get quite a number of calls from people who kept that information or took the calendar and put it on the refrigerator.
With that being said, Tim, Christina, do you have any questions in regards to, or concerns in regards to us potentially rolling over these funds?
No, we can roll them over to the next year if we need to, correct?
We're discussing rolling them into a line item for Jonathan so he can complete that training. Because as
talking
Kevin
about
said, it's
the
gonna go into free
$500?
cash.
Is it the $500?
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't have any questions.
No questions here.
Is anyone ready to make a motion?
I'm just going to say before you make the motion, the last thing I saw was between $500 and $600. It may be less. I'm just going to say if I can find the right program that's less for the same thing, I'm going to do it. And also, it's an actual requirement of 40 hours of quote unquote class time. And I think all of it is also online with as well. But depending upon who's teaching it or what source is teaching it, because it's the same class, it may be for less than that. I know it's no less than $300 or $350, but whatever it is, but I'm certainly not going for the highest dollar value. I'm going for the lowest.
No, and I just want to mention something. You just made me think of something, Jonathan, just because now I feel like I'm getting in muddy water. With us moving this over, I know it's my understanding, your position, you have like a certain amount of hours you have a year, correct?
That's correct. This is not time that I'm using for that, just to be clear.
Okay. I didn't want you to take the training.
I know where you're
Nicole
going.
said, and I'm like, oh no.
No, that's a separate issue because the fact of the matter is even the amount of time that I'm being allotted right now, it literally takes 2 to 3 months. I'm saying no to probably 60% of the residents who make requests of me that I can't even touch it because the town won't let me. And that's a straight answer.
All right, so just to move this forward, I'd like to make a motion that we request a transfer of funds from our professional and technical and office supplies line items, total 250 from each, to be utilized for the ADA coordinators training in FY24.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
And a vote, please.
Kevin Smith, aye.
Tim Tulin, no.
Christina De Oliveira, aye.
Nicole Mello, aye.
And I'm not a voting member any longer, so you won't hear from me.
All right, so that passes. So next I'd like to discuss as a commission our budget. I don't know what everyone's thoughts going forward. The first thing that I came to mind was mostly that looking to do print educational or possibly doing a mailer, funding something like that. I don't know what others people's thoughts were in regards to.
I always I think 500 isn't a whole lot to do a whole lot. If we could get at least a small increase, I mean, maybe if we ask to go to 600, and I think all of us are of the attitude that if we don't need to use it, we don't. But it's being handcuffed by $500 is tough.
I think that if there's some events you want to put on as the COD, whether it's for a mailer, because I don't know that $600 would do the mailer unless you did it the way that Kevin suggested. But if you want to do any activities, if you want to bring somebody in town to do an educational program, if you want to be able to provide other resource information to the community through a couple of events or things like that, then that $600 would be there. I don't know that you want to put it under two separate line items. You may want to just have it under a line item for activities and events. And that way it covers a mailer or something else that you might want to put together where you're bringing a body in, or, even if you did like a couple of coffee events and you needed to buy, we just lost Tim. He's back.
Nice.
Or, you did coffee hours and you needed to buy coffee and donuts. It will cover that. And that's why I might suggest you restructure it as something like activities and events.
It actually doesn't matter, to be honest with you. If you're within your own budget, you can shift things around if need be.
Yep.
But I kind of did something similar though with my parks budget this year, where just language, just so it does make sense. I don't foresee us really having office supplies. We don't have an office.
No.
I think we're all, if we need to print something, we print a couple pieces of paper ourselves, or we could do it through the, Board of Selectmen's office, like if we needed to print some serious documentation. So,
Kevin, I was thinking 500, but 600, I think would account for the fact that things are so expensive.
yeah, well, that's part of it too. Yeah. I mean, nothing's as cheap as it was last year.
The thing is, I wanted to come in low. I'd rather come in low and then next year know that we need more than like hijack some money in an account that possibly could have been used for something, even though it's a small amount, but sometimes small amounts add up to big.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. And I think if we were trying to like make a massive jump to, say 1,000, if we're trying to double it, I could see that being pushed back upon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it hurts to ask for the extra 100 if it turns out that, the TA, FinCom, and Board of Selectmen decide that, that doesn't fit into the overall town budget, then it is what it is, and we can move forward with the 5,
Yeah, and that would have been where we were anyway, so it wouldn't be such a loss, unlike
Right.
if we asked for 5 and we're bumped down to 4. So
Yeah, I don't want to ask for I certainly
gives us leeway.
wouldn't want to ask for an egregious amount. It would just be a little bit. And I'm assuming as the chair, you'll be presenting this to Mike. So, just to push that point that, just due to the cost, increased cost, if we want to do a printing or a mailer, that we can cover ourselves would be all.
Does anyone else have anything else to say about that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
The only thing I just don't know what we would want it, because it was almost going to be a single line item, and if we just keep it professional and technical, and that would be our only line item.
Yeah. I was trying to look at what other, if whatever other committees hold a budget, but I didn't get my hands on any of
Yeah,
those.
professional and technical is
It's pretty broad.
broad and blanketed. So with that, I will make a motion to have our professional and technical budget line item be $600, and that we eliminate the office supplies item.
Can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. And any discussion? I'll take a vote.
Kevin Smith, aye.
Tim Tool and I.
Christina De Oliveira, aye.
Nicole Mello, that's an aye. All right, so we're going to move on from our budget over to review and approve minutes from 1/4/2024. Once again, thank you, Tim, for getting those to us.
You're welcome.
And did everyone get to review those minutes?
Yep.
Yes, I did. Looks very good. Thank you again, Tim.
My
If
pleasure.
someone can make a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from our January 4th, 2024 regular meeting.
And a second.
Second.
And just a vote, please.
Kevin Smith, aye.
Tim Tool and I.
Christina De Oliveira, aye.
Nicole Mello, aye. Next, we have public input. We have no public. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
Nicole,
Next meeting
Oh,
date?
wait, sorry, Jonathan.
No, I was going to
Next-
say your next meeting date is the 7th of October. Yeah, right. August. I mean, Jonathan, starting a long day. March. Is that right?
March 7th.
Let me just, is that the first Thursday? Yes, it is.
All right. I will be away, but I will be joining by Zoom.
Okay.
Just quick, so kind of keep it on my radar for next time. Is the intention in our next meeting that we'll kind of jump back on the KMA lists and try to, because we'll
Yes,
also,
if anyone has anything else they want to see on an agenda, because I'm just grasping at straws here, and it would just be KMA report until forever if anyone doesn't bring something else to light. So we can't discuss that here, but if you email me singularly with an agenda item, I'd be happy to put it on there for you.
very good.
I think
Okay.
it does make sense with where we started a couple of months ago for you to go through the KMA report. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to really digress it yet, but to look at it and determine there are several things in there that you as the COD can begin to help address and work on with the community. And there are several items that I would be working on separately with the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen and other offices in the town because they're related to town policy specifically. But I think it also makes sense for you to really look at that report so that the conversation will be focused on what are the things that you as the COD can begin to talk about and address and plan for with regard to the report and
Well,
support.
that's what we did. We started to break it down actually, so we could do it in pieces.
Exactly. And I think it's important to really, to maybe in the next meeting to really start to break that down and hopefully really define it so that at the end of the meeting on the 7th, there's a clear definition of what is and what isn't.
Thank you, Jonathan. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll
I
make
make
a
a
motion.
motion to, sorry.
Why is everyone so excited?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Kevin,
And all in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
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 Thank you.
thank
you,
you.
everyone.
well, have a good night.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Good night.
Hey, don't forget to,
I'm gonna push stop recording, right?
well, and then, record to the cloud, save recording to the cloud.
Is it gonna ask me that?
Yes.